The most thrilling, spine-tingling series ever.
From the pages of R.L. Stine's best-selling books,
And the screams go on forever and ever.
We now return to Goosebumps.
So my name is Jack. I'm a Canadian. I lived all through the 1970s in your wonderful country, in Los Angeles. I worked with two marvelous Texans because being back in Texas is always amazing to me. The two guys were from Rankin, and from Cisco. You know them? Yeah. And their names were Jim Seals and Dash Cross, two famous Texans that became Seals and Cross. Probably you're all too young to remember. Yeah, but they wrote some wonderful music, and I worked with them in the 1970s in Los Angeles. And our favorite thing to do on tour was to come to Texas because the hospitality was great. Oh, I should use it? Okay. So the hospitality was great. The meals were always wonderful. We had a fairly large band. I think it was about 10 guys in the band, and so it was those guys and the crew of about 40 would sit down and have these great Texas meals, usually at a university or an arena or something like that. So I have really fond memories of Texas and the great times that we had here. And I think Dashcroft still lives outside of Marble Falls. He has a ranch there. And so when you think about the amount of talented people that have come out of Texas, it's a great story. So many great singers and artists that really, I think, are probably too many to mention, but you probably know them all. And so those, there's a great tradition out of Texas of great creativity and great songwriting. And Canadians and Americans have always been friends for a long, long time, and will continue to be friends. But I wanted to say that it's really a pleasure to be here in San Antonio and to have a chance to come to a Goosebumps convention. I've never been to one. 33 years ago, I wrote the song or the theme song, and what was interesting about it is I was in my early 40s, just turned 40, and so it was a very strange kind of thing. Because I was working on two series at the same time. One was called Goosebumps, the other one was called Due South. And Due South was a cop show where a Canadian Mountie and a US detective from Chicago were working together in Chicago. And that show was a comedy. It was on CBS, but it was also drama, but mostly a comedy. A 1 hour show. And so between scoring that show every couple of weeks and scoring Goosebumps once a week, I sort of don't remember a lot. And it was a long time ago. And I was saying to a couple of friends earlier that, 33 years ago, I wrote this piece of music and I've never once been asked to play it live. So this is very strange. So, as I said to one of our friends, Sean, I said, I'll beg your forgiveness and your permission. But it was an interesting experience because I was working with a company called the Einstein Brothers. And the Einstein Brothers was a strange name for a music company because, musicians aren't that smart generally. They're more about intuition and feeling. And so being able to write a scary piece of music is always really fun because you don't know, you're not thinking about it in terms of who you're going to scare or what it's necessarily, what the melody is going to be like. But we were in this very nice office in downtown Toronto. We had about 5 or 6 composers that worked together, and we all had our separate rooms. And I came up with this little figure, bum, 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 just a little 5-note figure, right? And I think I had been playing it quite a bit because we even at that time, 92 I think that was, even at that time you wrote everything in what was called the box. So you had a keyboard, you had a computer programmer who had all kinds of sounds available to you. You'd play in the keyboard part, and then you'd orchestrate it. You'd add all kinds of sounds, all kinds of effects, and you'd end up with, a theme. It was also crazy because I think the theme was almost a minute long. Does anybody know that for sure? Pretty sure it was about a minute long, right? Doesn't say, yeah. So the fun part is that you never, probably maybe 3 or 4 television themes in my life have ever got to write a 1-minute theme. And so I kept playing this little figure because I was trying to figure out how it would work with this drum pattern, which was like, you can do that later with me too, because I'll need a drummer trying to play this thing. So and I'm doing dum 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 dum, and I use this thing called a minor chord, except it's got I'll show you the chord. It's got the 9th in the chord or the close second at the bottom of the figure. So it goes like, let's turn it up a bit. So there's the minor, right? If you just move, so it's D, F, A. If you just move the bottom note up to E, you get this chord, which is much more mysterious, right? And then on top of that, you have, it's that figure, right? So I kept experimenting with this figure, I kept playing it. I didn't realize I was playing it a lot. Because sometimes themes are just 5 notes, right? But one of the guys in the office, Tim Tickner, who is a very good composer, finally came and knocked on the door and he said, "Would you please stop that?" He said, "First of all," he said, "it's driving me nuts and I'm going to be singing it for the next 3 days." So I said, "Okay, we'll put some baffles against the door so you can't hear it because it's going to be going on for a while." Anyway, so then we'd already received the picture. And you remember the opening? It's very mysterious with this guy walking in with the briefcase and all the effects and the dog with the eyes and everything. And so we're going through it. And I realized, you can't just do bum, 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 bum for 1 minute. Tim was right. That would really be bad. So I found that I could do this middle section, which was this kind of like da da do dee da, like a more of a legato, we call it legato section. And songwriters know that you have to have, if you're going to have like an A section, a B section, maybe even a C section to a song, they have to be a little different. And so that idea of that that little thing with the moving bass line was a way of building tension and then coming back to the bum, 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 bum. But the thing I enjoyed more than anything was the so that that made it a lot more fun. And then the intro with the da da do 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 da do, all that adds up to being something that sort of creates tension, right? Because you're doing a scary show. And the producer at the time was an older guy named Bill Siegler. And Bill said to me the very first time I met him, he said, "How old do you think I am?" I said, "Well, you always tell old people that they look great." Hoping you'll do the same. Anyway, so he says, "How old do you think I am?" I said, "I don't know, but you look ancient." He said, "I'm an old Jew from New York, And they asked me to produce a kids show. And he said, and the whole idea here is we can't scare them too much. So we have to be careful not to make it too scary, right? Meanwhile, that's what the books are about. The people read them. I think people read them because they like being scared. You know, there's something about being scared. It's kind of fun, you know, unless it gets too scary. Right now, horror is way too scary. Like, it's not something you want your kids to see because it's gone so intensely over the top. But we were always told that we had to be careful not to be too scary, right? So the idea was if you had drums behind it, if it was a little bit kind of mysterious, and then maybe you could have some dramatic moments. And then, of course, they said, well, you have to get this guy, you have to get somebody to pretend that they're Vincent Price for the end. So we got this singer named Cal Dodd, and I think some of you have heard about him. But he did two things. He did the voiceover, but he also did the dog barking. Because everybody thought that we just took the notes and put them on a computer and then tuned them, right? But he was a very good singer and a very good barker. So he did the woof, 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 woof. And it was probably really one of the most fun themes I've ever written. The only one that comes close to it is I wrote a song for the Toronto Blue Jays. Ooh, I know you're not Toronto Blue Jays fans. But I wrote this song the same year, 10 years earlier. I wrote a song for the Toronto Blue Jays, and they were an expansion team. And the whole idea was, as the manager came to my office and said, "We need a song, but you know we're a new team, so you just have to say we're okay. We're not great, we're just okay." So, "Okay Blue Jays" was the name of the song, and that was probably about the same amount of fun as writing Goosebumps. And both of them have lasted, well, Goosebumps for 33 years, and Blue Jays for 43 years. They still sing it at every game in the seventh inning stretch. You guys know what that is? Yeah, some of you. I was not really a big baseball fan, so we decided to write a song that would describe what it was like going to a baseball game, thinking everybody else was as ignorant as the composers. Anyway, so writing themes and writing ideas is more about intuition and feeling. You don't know why you necessarily pick something, but an idea occurs and then you have no idea where that idea came from. And especially when you look back at it, because the challenging thing for me is, I have to tell you the truth, in 33 years, nobody has ever said to me, except one friend recently, "Can you play it live?" Because at the time, you know, you're just putting in one part at a time. You're not necessarily thinking about the sequence of what that 1 minute is going to be like, but you sort of try to get the idea across, and then of course there's the presentation to the producers. The producers were these guys named Steve Levitan and Paul Bronfman in Toronto that produced the show for Fox in Canada. And you know why they came to Canada? Just one guess. Price? Did you say price?
No.
Okay, well, no, I thought you did, and that's the right answer.
Oh, yeah, I did say that.
Yeah.
The film tax is cheaper in Canada than in Washington. I'm from Washington.
Are you? Yeah. It's two things. First of all, our dollar is always like, we have a saying in Canada, another day, another 75 cents. So it's cheaper to work in Canada because you're getting 25 cents on the dollar more in value. And you get 30% tax credits back. So if you spend $1 million, you get $300,000 back from the government for your production. And they're doing that to try to encourage people to come there, which makes a lot of Americans mad at us. However, in the 90s, it was just sort of getting started, that whole tax credit thing. But they came to Canada to do this show. So I lucked out in so many ways to be able to get to write a theme like that, to a very good visual opening, right? And then at the same time, to have it last for so long, you know, to have it endure. And we have a joke about songwriting, that your songs are sort of like kids, like your kids, right? And you send them out into the world, and in contrast to your own real children, those children send you money back. So it's very nice because Goosebumps has been not only a lot of fun, even though I have now had to learn to play it again 33 years later, but it's also has been very financially viable, as I'm sure it has for Mr. Stine. And Scholastic, right? And all the other people who make things. But, you know, I had a recent experience, not recent, but when they did the first Goosebumps long form movie, I was so excited because the producer called me and said, we'd like to use your theme for the movie. And I was delighted. I didn't care if I made any money from it. He said, we don't have any money. Like usually they have to license it, right? So I said, no problem. Please be fantastic for it to be in the movie. Was it Jack Black was in the movie? Yeah, that was it. I remember the phone call. Then he said, so would you be able to talk to the people at Scholastic and let them know that, you know, you've given permission? And I said to them, well, they won't care because they own it. They own the song, right? They own the copyright for the song. And that's often the way it is in television. The composer doesn't get to keep the copyright, but you still earn royalties from performing rights societies around the world, wherever that show airs. So I said, good luck. And of course, they said no, because they wanted to make money from it, and they weren't going to pay them any money to use it. So that was the only, in 33 years, that's been the only disappointment and I had so many people tell me when the movie came out, what happened to the music, right? But in relationship to the overall arc, it was not that important. Did anybody see the movie? Everybody here? I bet you did. I didn't see it. Sorry. I like the original series, yeah. But the other really fun story about it is when we were working on it, Bill Siegler, the guy that I mentioned who's a producer, is not with us anymore in this world, but he's I'm sure laughing with us today because he kept saying you have to be careful, and it can't be too scary. So when you use those big, what we called orchestral strikes, if there was a scary moment, we had this thing where it was an actual sample of an orchestra going hum, like really big scary sound, right? So a couple of times we used it, and he said, I don't know, it's on the edge, maybe we better not use that. Anyway, it became a regular thing that we used, because Bill started saying at the end of every episode, and excuse my language, he would say, that'll scare the little buggers. And so, I've never actually said that in public, sorry guys. But it was just, it was a great group of people to work with, the Canadians obviously that did that first series. And I'm really grateful that we got to, first of all, that it introduced me to a whole new group of people. I did a podcast. Is anybody here there was a podcast? I think one guy was from Australia.
Yeah, the Goosebumps Crew Podcast.
Yeah, the Goosebumps Crew. Yeah, it was really fun. And I realized how it's kind of reached out all over the world, It's really been an amazing experience. So do you want to help me with the theme?
Yeah.
Do you want to try this idea? I don't know where my friend went. Somebody was going to come up and help direct. Will you do it? He was the guy, he was one of the guys on the podcast.
Oh, can we go where?
Yeah, would you mind?
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah. So the idea is that you'll do these little sound effects, dog barks, any kind of singing that you want to do. You can certainly improvise it, but the idea is we'll do it together when R.L. Stine comes in. Yeah, and hopefully we can scare him. Kind of get him back. Okay, so and here's the other thing. This was very funny because I never looked this up online. I decided I better make sure that I'm playing it right. So I looked it up online, and there it was. It was like the whole score, right? And the only thing that's not accurate is they're missing that minor second, that E at the bottom of the bum, 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 bum. So I think it's too late to probably correct it. But anyway, the fun part was, so I printed it out, and at the bottom of it, it says, used with permission of me, which I never give anybody permission. Okay, nobody ever asked me. But there's lots of these available online. You can buy them for $5.99. And so I paid my $5.99. And it really helped me to learn it. I have to tell you, it was very, very useful. And so I won't do any more qualifications for, the fact that my fingers are 33 years older and my brain the same. But I think we'll get through it. And with a little help from you guys, it'll be fun. So I'll play it for you once. Happy to, if you want to record it. And you just, pray for me. I really should have, done a better job of renting a piano. And so this one is what we call a sort of a limited. There's missing arch keys on this end and this end, right? But I'll give it a shot, and then we'll go through the parts that you can do. Did everybody hear this? So while I'm doing that, and we can go on for as long as you want, I just want you to try this idea of going, like making wind whistling noises. Just try it. A little louder. Perfect, okay. So we're going to do that for a while. I think it goes I think the opening has that figure about 15 times. My poor friend Tim, you put up with a lot. So then when that's done, we'll go. Remember that part? You can try that. Right? Okay, do you remember what comes next? Now here's where you go. There's your note. Back to. And then we go. Sorry. And then. Sure. Can you help us? Yeah. So at the beginning for this part, we're gonna do wind noises. Deep breaths. And then we go into sorry. Anybody that wants to do these little fingers, right? So we go. That's the cue. it comes right after this thing, right? Okay, good. So we do. Sorry. And then when we go into here, we wanted to get them to try to sing.
Okay. Y'all know the song, come on.
Yeah. And then,
Act like y'all don't know
and then
this.
this whole thing. Did you get that one? Good. And then this goes back.
See, I knew y'all knew.
And you can do wind noises there too. And then we do this. So you can improvise, do whatever parts you want. Do you want to run through it right from top? One more time? And sorry. Where does the it says right on here, where you whisper goosebumps. Oh, that's in this section. So you do count 3 of those. 1, 2, 3. You want to try it? 1,
Yeah.
2, 3, 4. Okay, so let's just try the goosebumps because it's only after this figure where it goes bum 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 bum. Good, excellent. Okay, and then the last part that I forgot to tell you was where's the viewer beware? Oh, okay. So when this last figure comes in, that's where it starts. Viewer beware, you're in for a scare. Do your best, Vincent Price.
Yeah.
So let's just try it once all the way through.
Sure.
And if you can cue those, you know whereabouts they are?
I do.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah,
We got.
we were there.
How much time do we have?
That's a good question.
Oh yeah, we've got 15 minutes. They just want us to clear out apparently for the next one, right?
No, you can be good all the way up till. I just wanted you to like get this lovely crowd ready for
Okay,
this musical number.
excellent. Okay. Okay, so let's try it from the top. Do you read music?
Barely.
Okay. Because this is the wind part here at the beginning. Then there's the dog bark, right? Then there's the that little pattern, and then it goes into the goosebumps thing when it comes back up to the re-intro, and then for this part is where it starts. Viewer beware, you're in for a scare.
Yeah.
Okay, no problem. We'll just give it a shot.
Good.
Okay, here we go from the top. 2, 3, 4. Good. That's where you go. Viewer beware. Okay, so we'll start. We'll do this. Good. So we go. And. That's where you do the viewer beware. So we go. I'll just give you this figure in. And viewer beware. Okay, good. Okay, let's try it one more time. Very good barkers.
Yeah, I definitely feel we all got that down.
Yeah, that's the easy part.
That is the crucial part of the entire song.
Okay, so let's just try. Would you mind trying one more?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, absolutely. You're a great help. Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Sorry, one more time. From the top. Now, here we go. Excellent. That'll be fun. So we'll try doing that. And if there are any other songs, like maybe we could do the Addams Family song. Just a whole what we would call a panoply of horror music. No, I wanted to ask if you had any questions, since I put you to work.
Where did you get your music education?
Well, I got it in a city called Saskatoon. Do you know where Saskatoon is?
Canada.
It's in, yeah, that's right. It's in a province called Saskatchewan. I grew up on a farm in Saskatchewan. And the joke is that it's so flat there that you can watch your dog run away for 3 days. And the other thing that we used to say quite often is, wheat's that, I corn barley ear you. Sorry. But I was lucky because my mom got a piano, right? She thought, because we lived on a farm, and 5 kids slept in one room. We were so poor we had to crawl to school. But anyway, those are all my Saskatchewan jokes. But if you ever go there, you'll see it's really flat. And as one person said when they drove across the prairies, they said, this place needs some editing. It's way too long. So the idea is that she got this piano and she thought, I'm going to get my kids to learn to play the piano. Wouldn't that be nice? I was the only one that was interested. And I was the only one that would practice. And so they had no idea what they had unleashed. And I used to drive them nuts because I would get up at 5 o'clock in the morning to practice. And I would do the scales, except I'd never come down. I'd just go up, right? Just to see what people thought of that, right? Because you expect, when you hear scales, that you're going to hear them up and then down. And so I just bugged them as much as possible because I was a kind of a crazy kid. And there was a pianist in Canada named Glenn Gould, and he was a very eccentric guy. And he used to wear gloves, even in the summer, to protect his hands. But that was going too far for my father when I started wearing gloves in the summer. And he was a pretty simple farmer guy, and they had no idea of how anybody would ever make a living at music, right? Everybody else was going to be an accountant or an engineer or something useful, right? But music was not something they were aware of. So I left home when I was 17. I played in bands. And then I got this amazing job with a group called Seals and Crofts that I mentioned were from Texas here when I was early 20s. And then I worked with another singer named Kenny Loggins for years. And all those piano lessons, the whole point of it is the piano lessons really paid off because I've been able to make a living at music and make a living at writing music. One of the pieces that I'm really proud of is I wrote about 25 minutes of music for the Mel Gibson movie called The Passion of the Christ. I know it was a very controversial movie, but I used to say to people, because I worked on that movie for 15 months, I did all the music research, that it was just another horror film. People didn't call it a horror film, but that's what it was in many ways because it was so brutal. And I think everybody that worked on it, all my Canadian friends and other friends that worked on it, felt that it was really extreme in terms of its the amount of blood and gore in that one. But he only made $1 billion, so I think he did well, and it was an interesting process because when you work with people, and Goosebumps was no different. When you work with producers always have what we call notes. Do any of you work in professions where you get notes? Yeah, I'm sure you do. So in this case, you get notes from 5 or 6 different people, and those notes are never the same. So then you have to find your balance and your way through very complex notes. I think one of the funniest ones, I did a series called Good Witch for Hallmark. It was the only series that lasted 15 years, if you can imagine. And we used to get notes that said things like, we want it happy, but at the same time we want it sad. So do you guys do happy, sad? I don't know. I could never figured that one out. But with the great thing about Goosebumps, it was Bill Siegler, the guy I mentioned, was so much fun. And he had the least notes of anybody. He was just such an easy guy to please. But then the notes from all the other parties involved, which was Fox, which was Scholastic, were very complex to try to weave your way through them and figure out what they wanted. And I think, I know that's a very long answer to Saskatchewan, but the other thing I'll tell you is that growing up on a farm, we had all kinds of animals. The animals could never be pets because you would always end up eating them. And the other crazy thing about it is we call Saskatchewan Saskatch-around because that's what the chickens did all day, right? They're always scratching for food in the dirt. And so my other Saskatchewan story is that one of the singers I worked with for many years from Saskatchewan was Buffy St. Marie. She was an Indigenous singer. And she sang in the tradition of more of these, what you would call chants of Indigenous chanting. And we traveled literally probably 50 countries because her music, which had evolved through the 60s, was still very much alive, in the 90s and 80s and 90s. And she and Joni Mitchell are, I think, one of the great examples of Saskatchewan being a very creative kind of place. And we always blamed it on the fact that there was nothing else to do. I remember going to Cisco, Texas when I was interviewing Dash Crofts for this film I'm making about Seals and Crofts. And he said this exact same thing. He said all we had to do for fun was to stomp crickets. And he said, so we had to do something else, and so music became something else for them. Anyway, long answer, sir.
Just heads up, we're about 8 minutes out.
Okay, great. Any other questions? Please.
When you proposed to be on Goosebumps, were you like, this is gonna be cooking. People are gonna love this. Like, did you know? Or you were like, I don't know. Like, did you know it was gonna be? People were gonna love this song.
It's such a good question. I don't think we ever have a clue.
You're just like, hope for the best.
Yeah, yeah. The saying is when you're writing for television, if it lasts for 6 episodes, that's still okay. So when they go to 70, 80, 90 episodes, which, you know, it's really quite shocking actually when something hits like that. And, you know, you have a sense if it goes past 2 seasons, because 2 is the hard one to break. I've produced a lot of kids television with puppets, and we have a company in Canada that does that, and it's very hard to get past 2 seasons, you know. So you don't really have a sense, you know. It's the same with the Blue Jays baseball song. I can't believe they're still singing it 43 years later. Like, it's shocking because sports teams are very superstitious. I think generally people in the entertainment business are suspicious too, or superstitious. They look for signs, and I don't know whether it's even a good idea, right? But sports people especially, if something changes or something really works, then they stick with that thing, right? And then you wouldn't want to change it, right? So I thought we'd maybe last a couple of years with the song. And I really didn't have a sense about Goosebumps. I had a sense, you know, it's interesting. I had a sense that it was a good theme. I had a good feeling about it. And people responded well to it, and that's usually a pretty good indication. Randy Newman tells the story about him writing the song, You Got a Friend in Me, and how when he played it for the first people at Disney, nobody said a word. and then when he, you know what you normally say is once you play it once, you say, so do you want to hear it again? You know, so you're hoping somebody will say something, right? Because it's just usually just silence, right? So he said, you want to hear the song again? And they said, sure. And then after the second play, then they all had something to say about it. And they were all, you know, executives in their 20s, and nobody liked it. Everybody thought it was wrong. So apparently he just laid down on the floor near where the speakers were and put his hands over his chest like this. And some poor young ingenue at Disney came up to him and said, Mr. Newman, are you okay? And he said, yes. He said, I'm fine. And he said, well, what are you doing? He said, I'm lowering my expectations. So that's the difference between the people who supervise it and the people who actually have to do it. Like there's always that kind of tension, right? But it's a useful tension because sometimes somebody will give you a note and you'll say, why didn't I do that? And other times you want to say, you know, I don't think that's going to work. You know, and when you, especially when you write for a long time, like I've been writing music for 50 years, when you write for 50 years, you tend to figure out what works and what doesn't work. You know, and you don't really kind of, you become a little less flexible. And I think Randy Newman was there. He wasn't going to sort of change it. Oh, but the best part of the whole story is the song that you hear on the movie, Toy Story, right, was exactly the one he played that day. So sometimes you're right, and sometimes you're not. You're right. You just really work with it. So that's the other part of the question. You know, you don't know that something might change in the process that actually makes it better. And I always say, like, I had a shop where I had about 5 composers working with me at one point because we just couldn't keep up with the amount of work. And we had one guy who would just, whenever people gave him an idea, he would just turn around and look at the wall. And I said, Steve, you gotta stop doing that. He says, I'm getting complaints. So it's also about sociability, right? It's the capacity to hear someone's view, listen, adapt, you know, we do a lot of that. Do we have time?
Got time for like one really quick one.
Yeah. All the questions are quick. I'm just talking too much. Sorry.
Hopefully this is a fast question to ask, but I'm curious, because the dog in the intro is so iconic to a lot of us, I'm curious, I mean personally, like, did the dog have a name, or?
His name was Cal.
Yeah?
He was a singer.
Oh, yeah.
That we brought in. His name was Cal Dog. So we used to call him Cal Dog. And it was actually his idea.
Wow.
You know, he just came in to do the Goosebumps and You're In for a Scare, because he was really a fantastic singer, but he was also a guy who, was a very good improviser. I worked with him for years. He's a fantastic singer, but also a very funny guy. And so it was his idea to have the dog bark. And while we're just playing the song back where he's supposed to do the Goosebumps whisper and then you're everywhere, you're in for a scare. And all of a sudden he barks in tune with the melody. Everybody went, wow, that's great. And of course we never thought of it because there was a dog right there in the picture. Right? So at least Cal got the idea. The other thing about Cal that's very funny is he can sing like Frank Sinatra. Our company actually did a record with him, and they're all old songs from the Great American Songbook, right? I can't even remember that, but all great traditional songs sung in the style of Frank Sinatra, and we did it with a big band, and it was the first time anybody had ever really let him just do what he loved. And it was such a great record and a great experience. And so remember Cal Dog, D-O-D-D, not D-O-G-G. Yeah.
Who, if he was not here, we would not have any of this. We would not have any Goosebumps to share. Let's give it up for the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. R.L. Stine.
So many Goosebumps shirts, I think I'm in the wrong business. I should be in the shirt business. Get the books. Yeah. I will tell you why I'm especially glad to be here today. That's why I'm especially glad. I did a book signing in Baltimore a couple weeks ago, and a teacher came up to the table and she said, "Can I have my picture taken with you? The kids all think you're dead." That's why I'm especially glad to be here.
Welcome, it's very great to have you. For those of you who are not familiar with us, my name is Isaiah Vargas.
Bjorn Palanich.
And Nick Shaw. And we are the Goosebumps Crew. So we host a independent podcast on YouTube and Spotify, all their audio platforms, where we talk about Goosebumps every single week. And so if you want to learn more about us, you can go visit us, our panel. But we are here to introduce, of course, the man who gave us all the iconic Goosebumps cover arts that we know and love today. So without further ado, I want to toss it over here to Mr. Tim Jacobus.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you all hanging around and spending a little time here. Doing the Goosebumps stuff was just a part of my career. I've done more book covers that were not Goosebumps than were Goosebumps. So I have a bunch of work that basically what's funny about it is all that stuff no one's ever seen. No one can quote what the title of the painting is or anything like that. So to be on a series where the artist is remembered and recognized all these years later, and stories get quoted, and these guys know more about the crazy world of Goosebumps is pretty unbelievable. Now, there's a couple of different kinds of artists who are out there, and there's guys, and the guy who lived next door to me, who was my age, was a better artist than I was. So I wasn't even the best artist on my block.
Just want to ask you guys, so how many of you have read the book, The Art of Goosebumps? Oh. So if you guys haven't read that book, it is essentially a huge deep dive into Tim's work on the Goosebumps series. It goes into depth about the processes of every single one, and it even has some of the original pencil sketches from when he was designing the covers. So if we were to make a recommendation, if you can find a copy of that book, definitely do so. It's a good book to get signed too.
It's very rare to find, I'll tell you that right now. I've looked on Etsy, eBay, and people are just selling just the book itself $100.
Is it not for sale on your website anymore?
No, what happened was, so the publisher Dynamite, they, as part of their business model, was their distributor was a separate company. The distributor went Chapter 11. Somebody stepped in and just took all the books.
Well, I got it right before.
You got it right before. So I sold my last couple of copies, and it is sold out on my site. So yeah, grab the book if you can find it. I wouldn't pay $100 for it yet. I think just look around. They're there. They're just hidden a little bit. All right. If you want to hit the lights, hopefully we're gonna make this thing fly. All right. Perfect Goosebumps. So, here's a drawing that my mother saved. Now, like I said, you know, there's just, there's people who are born with natural talent, and then there's me. Now, not only is this, I don't know what happened to poor George's arms, but that was George Washing, not George Washington. So, my parents, unlike Wayne Gretzky's parents, who knew when he was 5 years old that he was going to be a great hockey player, my parents were just hoping I would get through the 3rd grade.
Well, at least he's happy about it.
Absolutely. So here's a piece of artwork that I did in high school. It wasn't the best in the class. It wasn't the worst in the class. But I was starting to figure out what I was doing. And I mentioned in the last program that there was an artist named Roger Dean, who I was a huge fan of. He did all the album covers for a band called Yes. He did a few other bands as well. And this is a copy of one of Roger Dean's pieces of work. Please go look online and see what it's supposed to look like. This isn't that great, but I was still starting to learn to try to advance my skills. This painting was done 4 years later. So I was spending a lot more time painting from the time I was in high school until I went to art school. The art school I went to, they kept us on the board a lot of hours. So I had a friend of mine who enjoyed the art that I was doing. Him and his dad were the original house flippers before anybody knew what a house flipper was. So my friend he was the only guy I knew who, when he was 17 years old, had his own house. Because his dad would buy them, he'd make his son live in them. They were unlivable at first, and then we would help them too. We would paint, we would help them do the stuff. And just before they put the house on the market, my friend George would say, paint me a painting so when the people walk through the house, they get to see something really cool. It would just be one piece of art here, and we're not gonna sell it with the house, and then I'll get the chance to keep it. So this was one of the pieces I did for him. And he said, I went to school at the University of Arizona, and the Grand Canyon is there. He goes, I want a painting of the Grand Canyon. But instead of paying you for it, I want to take you there, and then we can hike around and you can take pictures. I'll pay for everything, and then when we get home, the exchange is you do me a painting. And I was like, wow, that's unbelievable. Absolutely, let's do it. So we hiked around the Grand Canyon and we took pictures, and we met people along the way, and people, you know, from tour guides to just random people. And one of these random people told us this story, that the explorer Coronado got credit for discovering the Grand Canyon. And, but he wasn't looking for the Grand Canyon. He was looking for a place called the Lost Seven Cities of Gold that the Indians told him about. And so he searched all of the Grand Canyon, couldn't find it, left. him and his men moved down to Central America. He stopped, he turned around, he said, no, we missed it. It's somewhere in the Grand Canyon. Came back to the Grand Canyon and kept looking until his men started to realize, oh, this guy's out of his mind. And they began to abandon him until he was wandering all alone through the Grand Canyon looking for this lost 7 cities of gold. And he died, never finding it. Now, I don't know if that's a true story or not, but that's a cool story. So I decided I was going to run with that. The background of this painting is what the north face of the Grand Canyon actually looks like. The foreground to the painting is the entrance to the lost 7 cities of gold that Coronado could never find. So after high school, I went to art school. And I went to a really small art school. We were so small, we were the downstairs to a doctor's office. There was 20 of us in the graduating class. They didn't have a graduation ceremony, they just took us out to dinner. But what was cool about this school was all the teachers had to be working artists. So not only did they teach us anatomy and color theory and composition, they would also bring in the projects they were working on in the real world and tell us about, oh, I'm having a problem with my client, he wants this, but this is the piece that I turned in. And so along with getting all those rudiments of the art, of building up our art skills, we were learning about the art business. So it was an incredible school. It was very inexpensive. I could pay monthly to go to school. And I worked, me and one of my friends worked unloading tractor trailers full of starch in 100-pound bags onto pallets. And I made enough money unloading trucks after work to pay to go to school. School costs lots more now. But I was able to, so people always ask, where is the most, what's important about choosing a school when you're getting into an art, an art-based school, whether it's for writing or, illustration or acting. And it doesn't matter. You can go to the biggest, best, most expensive school there is, and if you don't put your effort in, you're not going to get anything out of it. You can end up at a little tiny school that you could pay for monthly by unloading tractor trailers, and you can get everything you need if you put in the effort. So it's not where you go to school, it's how you go to school. Now, when you get out of art school, you think you're going to set the world on fire. And then you realize you need to get art anywhere you can find it. So I used to work for a company called A&P, which was a supermarket, and they used to put out a color flyer in the newspaper and to help advertise. So there's a bunch of words in there, you don't know what they mean anymore. So newspaper, there used to be this thing, and newspapers used to be in black and white, but on Sunday, they would put color on the front page, and that meant the back page was in color as well. So A&P used to set all their ads there. And they had an older guy who used to paint pictures of food for them, and he had enough of it, and they asked me to paint some pictures of food. So I was painting pictures of food for the Sunday paper for a long time. Now, that doesn't seem like a great job, but when you're a struggling artist, this was one of the best jobs I ever had. I would go there on Monday morning, and they would give me a list of the food that I had to paint. Then there was a cardboard box full of photographs of the food. So I would see what was on the list, I'd thumb through the box and take the photos out, and that would be my reference. Now, if the photograph wasn't in the box, they let me go downstairs to where the actual supermarket was, and I could take the food off the shelf and take it home with me and use it as reference. Didn't take me long how to figure out how to make this work. So let's say it was roast chicken that week that needed to be painted. There was no way there was going to be a photo of roast chicken in there. And then they'd send me down to the store, and I'd get a nice roast chicken, and I would put it in the oven, I'd cook it, and then I'd study it, and I'd take a picture of it, and then I'd slide it right into my refrigerator. So not only was I getting my artwork for the week, I was getting my food for the week. So this whole time, early on, I had gone with one of my teachers who was a book illustrator to Manhattan, and an art director looked at my school portfolio. And he said, yeah, He went through all the art that was in there and he took it all out. And he said, all this stuff looks like student work. He goes, but this one's pretty good. You could use this one. So I had one piece. And he goes, I want you to go home and I want you to create 6 more pieces that look like they could be art on book covers. And then you can come back to Manhattan, but don't do it until you get those new pieces done. So the same guy who took me to the Grand Canyon had more houses still, and he was going, yeah, paint me some more paintings. So this, my friend George, who has a very unbelievable collection of original art in his house now, was what I used to put together for my portfolio so I could take it to Manhattan. Took 3.5 years of knocking on doors in Manhattan before I landed my first cover. And this is it right here. This is called The Fugitive in Transit. This is also the first piece I'm showing you that has any human figures in it. Now, the way it worked was, as I stated before, is I would always take a picture of anybody I could to put them in my painting to keep my characters from looking too cartoonish to looking more realistic, because I'm usually doing, you know, crazy backgrounds and unknown atmospheres. So I want the people to look as real as possible so that I can get you to buy into the rest of the nonsense that's going on in the painting. So this is my ex-wife, Laura, and she was the best model I had at the time because she worked for free. So I took a lot of pictures of her, and this worked out great. I was able to tie the art together. I did a ton of books a ton of murder mysteries where she was on them. So I would take her outside, and I'd have my Polaroid camera, and I'd have her lay on the ground, and she would play dead, and I would take pictures of her. Now, if you don't know what I do for a living, that's very weird behavior. So my neighbors were very unsure about what I was doing and who I was. And then my ex-wife started to think, maybe there is something here. Maybe, I subconsciously want to try to kill her. And then it's like, come on, you're exaggerating. So this is a new piece that I did. It's an album, and it's all about, every song on the album is about serial killers. And all the things that they would do, and all the clues and all the references in this painting are all things that famous serial killers left behind in their pursuits. Underneath the bed there, who's just about to be murdered, is my current girlfriend. So maybe there's an issue here that I need to talk to somebody about. So, yeah. So I had been working with Scholastic for a couple of years, and Goosebumps came along, and we talked about it earlier, but they approached me with the idea that, listen, Tim, we've got this series, it's not going anywhere, do us a favor, if you could do the covers for a couple $100 cheaper than you normally would, we'd appreciate it, and we'll put you on to something good after this is over. And I read the first chapter of Welcome to Dead House, and I went, oh, this is really cool. I'm in. I don't care if I'll take a couple $100 less. You know, a job on the table is way better than waiting to hope that you get another job. So, you know, the idea that I was getting paid a little less didn't matter. And what was interesting is, you know, the publishers, R.L. Stine, me, no one knew that this thing was going to take off, and that over, where are we at now, gentlemen? Short of 400 million copies?
Just about.
Yeah.
We're up to 400 million.
Yeah.
Over 400, yeah.
So, again, these are numbers that don't make any sense. So even the experts had no idea what was happening.
So clearly it didn't end up going anywhere.
No, exactly. And I'm still waiting for that good series they're going to put me on. Liars. Right. The Haunted Mask. How many people were already in the last panel? Show of hands. All right, I'm going to tell the story again. Sorry. So behind the Haunted Mask is my niece Jessie. And I asked Jessie if she wanted to be on the cover of the Goosebumps, and she was thrilled. She told all her friends that she was going to be on the Goosebumps cover. And then I brought her over to the house and sat her down. Said, okay, Jessie, put this over your face. Man, she was mad at me. She was so mad at me when she realized no one was ever going to recognize her on that cover. That horrible face on the mask right there, not nearly as scary as what's going on behind the mask. But luckily it became very popular, and I sent her a bunch of books, and she could prove to her friends that it was at least the top of her head on that Goosebumps cover. But what is also cool is Jessie is now a grown woman. She has 4 kids of her own. She's a doctor, and she still tells her patients that that's the top of her head on that Goosebumps cover. So R.L. Stine was writing the book at the same time I was doing the cover. So I would get a sheet like this that has the title and a couple of sentences, a paragraph, sometimes 1 sentence about what the book was about, but that was enough for me to get started. First thing that I always did was thumbnail sketches, little scribbles. These aren't for anybody, these were not for presentation, these were just for me. It's the equivalent of if you're writing a story and you would just started to jot down some notes or bullet points. And I would do multiple pages of these until the ideas started to semi-repeat themselves. And then I would realize, all right, that one that keeps coming up, that's probably something good. And I would do it until I had 3 solid ideas. Then I would take them and I would draw them up on an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper and give it some real detail. Now, I did it this size because back then, here comes another thing, another word that maybe you don't know, we had fax machines. And I would fax my sketch over to the people at Scholastic. So the 8.5 by 11 is what fit into a fax machine. Now what was wild is the sketches are pretty good on my side. What they were looking at were like Rorschach tests. So I can't believe that they were able to pick anything out from what I sent them over. So then they would just pick a cover that we were going to do. Now, before I go any farther, Nick let me know full-handedly that he hates this cover. So this is not one of the ones that I hate, so I think it's one of my better covers, and so we'll let Nick know after the fact if this is good or not. So they picked this one for Deep Trouble 2. It's a giant mutant killer goldfish that's in the story, and they thought that this sketch did the best to convey that idea. I work with acrylic paints. Acrylic paints are a water-based paint that dry very quickly, but they don't dry fast enough, so I actually painted with a paintbrush in one hand and a hairdryer in the other hand to help speed the drying along. And what's nice about acrylic is any color and anything will cover anything else, where if you're working in watercolor or gouache or some other mediums, you only have one shot. I have infinite shots at how many times I can change what I'm doing. The next thing I would do is a color comp. I would take that original sketch and I would reduce it down to a painting, a Xerox that was 6 by 6. I glue it to a piece of illustration board and I do a small painting. Now this painting never had any detail in it, but this was where I was going to work out all those crazy colors that I made sure that I put on those Goosebumps. And I wanted to do all my experimenting here. The idea is I can do this super fast and I can change my mind 15 times until I get what I want. What I'm trying to avoid is when I go to the final big painting, I don't want to have to be redoing stuff and killing time and wasting full days to go, oh, the background's green, should have been blue, oops, and wasted that kind of time. So this was a really great step to get all that worked out. In my left hand is a sable brush, that's your typical artist brush, box air. In my right hand is an airbrush. Airbrush is controlled spray painting. I started out when I was a teenager painting on motorcycle tanks and on cars, and I learned to use the airbrush, and I realized what a unique tool it was. So as I got into doing my regular illustrations, I kept using it. Just remember that it's 80% of it is done with a regular sable brush and probably 20% of it was done with airbrush. Now I take that, you can see the color compass off to the right-hand side. I've got a piece of illustration board there that's 20 inches by 20 inches. And then I take my sketch and I blow it up on a Xerox. So now we have the full sketch that we need. Next thing I do is flip up that Xerox and I take out my airbrush and I spray the base color on the board. I hate working on white. I want to just get a base color down. Now I work from background to foreground. I want to take the thing that's the farthest away in the painting first. And I start to block it in. Now as I block it in, you can see the things that are in front of it are getting a little bit darker than the ones that are farthest away. So you want to have your darkest darks in the foreground, and you also want to have your lightest lights. So you can see me build it up again. We're a little bit darker, and we're adding some lights in the foreground, and that really pushes back those coral reefs that's way in the back. I add some beams of light with the airbrush, add some details to the coral, and now we have the stage set to now put the main elements on this piece. Because it's a giant mutant goldfish, I want to have a sunken ship there. People go, man, you use millions of colors in your paintings, and really I don't. Just for the ship itself, it's light brown, medium brown, dark brown. I just block it in as best I can, get it to take shape, just add a couple of accent colors, a little bit of white in there, and it's complete. So there really is a limited palette to get things into shape. Now I'm ready to put in the giant mutant goldfish, and I think you all can see, but there's a white chalk outline on the painting. So that's done with something called Sorel paper. Sorel paper is a paper that has chalk on one side, and it comes in different colors. It can be gray, it can be red. I use the white mostly. And you put the chalk side down, I flip down my giant Xerox, and I can trace around my goldfish, because I like the way the goldfish in the sketch looks. There's no sense in starting over and redrawing it. And then I flip it up, and now you can see the outline is there. Now I can go in, and I can just block it in. So same with this, it's light yellow, medium yellow, and dark yellow. I get it as blocked in as I can. But the next thing I need to do, because I got this yellow goldfish on this nice blue background, I want to isolate my airbrushing, because the airbrush is great, but it gets all over the place. It's spray painting. So I use something that's called frisket paper. Now frisket paper is, imagine a high grade of saran wrap. It sticks to the board, it's clear, and then I then take out an X-Acto knife and I cut around the fish. You can see me peeling off the plastic here. So when I'm done, the whole painting is covered with plastic except for the fish. And now I can go in with my airbrush and I can spray all I want, and the yellow is going to stay on the goldfish and it's not going to get on any of the background. So yeah, this is basically it. And let me give you a nice close-up. So you can see the detail around his eyes, and then I also use the airbrush at the base of him to smooth it out and then soften the edges as it moves back. So again, you want to have your hardest edges in your foreground as well, and that helps build depth to your painting. And that's how you do a Goosebumps cover. So we got to the point with Goosebumps where they said, hey, we need to come up with a mascot for the Goosebumps series. So this was the first character that I came up with, and it was really great working with the people at Scholastic. They liked nearly 100% of the stuff I submitted. And this one, everybody hated. It was unanimous. So when I got done with them, they're like, yeah, the character's okay, but first off, we can't tell if that's a guy or a girl, and it's a ghost. What are we gonna do with that? We want somebody that we can have, he can ride a bike, he can play hockey, he can do anything we want him to do. We need more of a universal character. I went, all right, I got it. So I took this guy home, I cut off all his hair, turned him into a skeleton, and Curly was born. Now, for the longest time, Curly was on more book covers than any other character. He was on all the special edition books. No one knew who he was, or where he came from, or what his origin story was. So that was a lot of fun because we could just keep having him show up wherever we needed him to. He then became so popular that through a reader's poll, that he needed his own mascot, and through the reader's poll, you guys decided his name should be Drool. Well, Goosebumps went on for a really nice run. We did 63 books in the original series. And then they came to Bob and I and they said, all right, we want to do a series 2000 and we want to kind of entice the kids who were reading the original Goosebumps to stick around a while longer. So let's do some edgier stories and you can do some edgier artwork on the covers as well. And that was great. For me, this was wonderful because there were not rules, hard rules, but there were things that we couldn't do on an original Goosebumps cover that I could do in the series 2000. Never could show a kid getting hurt. Never could show red blood. We could show monster blood. You guys saw tons of monster blood, but red blood was out. So when Graveyard Ghouls came out, and I got a chance to have a guy get his eye poked out and dangle, I gotta tell you, there's something wrong with me, but I was thrilled.
And not to mention the top of his head there,
Yeah, have his brains hanging out, and it was just, it was wonderful, absolutely wonderful. Then the series 2000 went on for 25 books. But this is book number 26, and most of you, unless you're out on the internet, never saw this one before. This is called The Incredible Shrinking Fifth Grader. And as I finished this painting, I got a call from Scholastic, and they said, yeah, Tim, I know you're finishing up the painting. Don't bother shipping it in. You can hang on to it. We're going to pay you for it, but Goosebumps is over, and thanks a lot, and we appreciate all the art you've done for us over those years. So all of a sudden I was like, oh, I just lost my job. So I had to scramble a little bit because everything I had done for 10 years was Goosebumps, Goosebumps, Goosebumps. So it was time to change what I was doing. So at the time, that's when digital art came along. And actually all the publishers came to us, illustrators, and said, you have 48 months to learn how to do digital art. In 48 months, we are no longer going to take another piece of traditional art from any of you. So all of us were under the same task, and you gotta remember, this is 2003, 2005. Oh boy, were the computers terrible back then. And this was the least fun time of my career because I had worked this whole method out of doing artwork, and I had created my own style, and I had my own, my own kata and martial arts way of doing stuff. And then computers came along and they gave me a stick and a rock, and they told me to make art, and it was not going well at the beginning.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Is that for Nancy Drew Ghost of Thornton Hall?
Yes, it is.
Oh
Look
my
at you.
gosh,
Look
you
at you
did-
scoping the background stuff.
I didn't know the names.
Yes, I did all those Nancy Drew covers. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I'm gonna faint.
So I had to now branch out on this stuff that I would do. I live in New Jersey. New Jersey is a place where there's a lot of medical advertising going on. So I started to do some medical advertising. And what's great about medical advertising is it is this close to horror. So if you can know how to do stuff that's ooze and looks wet and drippy, you can do medical illustrations. So I stayed on them, and there you go. This ain't brain juice, but it was to me. Also got a chance to do some more caricature work. I had done a few pieces, and then this piece of art came along, and it was for a magazine. The story behind it was how we're whitewashing history, and we're turning all the bad guys kind of into good guys. So it was kind of fun to take recognizable characters and come up with the art. Again, magazines was something I didn't do a lot of, but these were another avenue for me to pursue. Then I got a chance to do a new series, and it was hands down the most horrific thing I ever worked on. I know we have some little kids here, she'll be okay, but I always am reluctant about showing it because it's a bit much. So the next piece here is the most scary thing I ever worked on. Now, I don't know if you think this is scary or not. To me, this was the most scary thing I ever worked on in my whole career. Not only was I doing cover art for them, there was hundreds of illustrations inside the book. So we had Teletubby stuff at my house everywhere. We had Teletubby dolls. Everywhere in the house, Dad is creating them right in front of me, and then I just went, oh my God, you gotta get him out of here. He's not gonna grow up normal.
I was creating a Teletubby cult.
Exactly. But, so, I didn't get the job right away because the guy who, Mr. Teletubby, they were looking for the artist. The people at Scholastic said, oh yeah, you can use Tim. Tim's a really good artist. He goes, I don't know that Tim Jacobus. They go, oh yes you do. He's the guy who did all the Goosebumps covers. And he said, oh no. I don't want that guy because he's going to take my characters, he's going to turn them into little monsters. And at first when my rep called me and told me, I went, oh, you know, that's not abnormal. Why would he think that I could only, you know, he should think I only know how to do one thing. So because there was lots of illustrations, I said, here's the deal. I'll paint one of the interior pieces. I'll do you a sample. If you don't like it, you don't have to pay me for it. And if you do like it, then we just move forward and I get the job. And the guy was like, I can't think of anything more fair. So I painted him a cover.
See, that was going to be Series 2000, number 27.
Now I never showed the guy this because I would have got fired instantly. Because the guy had no sense of humor. But I did send it to my rep, and I got a good laugh.
That's awesome.
All the years go by, and while Goosebumps was going on, they talked about a Goosebumps movie many, many times. Tim Burton was, on tap to do one, and they always fell through. So in, what was it, 2013?
2015, the movie came out.
Okay, well, 2013, then I'm still right on my timeline, because this was before it came out. I start hearing rumors that there's gonna be a movie, and I just shaking my head going, that ain't happening, because it didn't happen back in the day. Why would it happen all these years later? I went to an event with RL, and he's going, oh no man, they're really doing it. You know, it's really happening. And they shot the original live people first, and then they were going to take a year to do all the CGI stuff. And I was like, oh man, maybe I'll get a chance to do one more piece of artwork for Goosebumps. That would be cool. You know, come out of the bullpen one last time, throw a couple heaters, and be part of it. And then they finished the CGI part, then they tweaked the movie, then they announced that it was going to be released at Halloween, and this was around August of that year. And I went, all right, well, I didn't get the nod, but that's okay. I'm not a movie guy, I'm a book guy. And I got a call on the Labor Day holiday from a group of people, and they're like, oh, you gotta sign all these NDAs and da-da-da-da-da. Anyway, the short story was, at the end of the movie, Jack Black, R.L. Stine, sees the Invisible Boy typing. He turns to the camera, he screams, and he morphs onto a Goosebumps cover, and the movie ends. And they said, we've been trying to create a Goosebumps cover for 2 weeks now, and it looks terrible. And then somebody said, why don't we go find Tim. So we all did a face plant, and they reached out to me, so I got a chance to do this piece of art that shows up at the very end of the Goosebumps movie. Do not blink, because it is only on the screen for about 2 seconds, but it's there, so I did make it into the movie.
If I can actually really quickly say, because I think I remember you told us this story, after the end of the movie, the credit sequence is the original Goosebumps covers animated. And not only did you actually not know about that, but when you first went and saw the movie, you actually were not in the theater to see that.
Yeah, when I was at the premiere, they called me out to go in the back and sign some stuff for a group of people. So I didn't see this piece of artwork show up, and I didn't see the final sequence, which these guys were going, you have to see it, we did something for you. You have to see it, we did something for you. And my son sat in there, and he saw it. And he comes to the back, this is what a loving son I have, and he was going, dude, you missed it. He goes, it was so cool. I go, what was it? He goes, And he never told me, so I had to go home, and I had to go to the movies and actually watch the movie with a whole bunch of other people and get to the end and go, oh, yay! So, RL and I don't get a chance to hang out a lot together, and we don't get a chance to work a lot together, but we do from time to time, and we've got a chance to do a couple of graphic novels, which have been a blast. This one was real fun. It's called The Stuff of Nightmares. This is a graphic novel that's not for little kids, so if you have a little kid, don't go out and hunt this one out. It's very cool, and again, got a chance to do some blood and guts here, and I really enjoyed doing this piece. Then recently, I don't know if you guys everybody is aware of one of the Kelsey brothers. These are two NFL football players. Jason Kelsey was a player for the Eagles. His brother is getting married to Taylor Swift. So that's usually where everybody knows where he's from. They also own a beer company called Garage Beer. And they were releasing a new beer this Halloween, and they asked if I could do a painting of the both of them and have them coming out of their haunted garage with some beers in their hands. So this was a blast. And a little interesting tidbit, in the original piece, his brother didn't have the hockey mask on, and he had his number 87 jersey. And because he's still an NFL player, the NFL stepped in and said, he can't appear on any alcohol ad. You gotta take his number off and you gotta cover his face. So this was the solution we came up with. So, I know a lot of people here, you come to cons, you all have a creative mode to you and a creative streak in you. It's something that comes up and it takes time. So my idea behind this is always try to be patient with your art and spend the time. I talked about it earlier, but carving out time to do your art every day is super important. Don't wait until you are inspired or you feel the muse. Just get up and do it. Push-ups and sit-ups. They're not fun, but they make you stronger. And doing sketches or sitting down and writing doesn't have to be for hours and hours every day. It could be for as little as 20 minutes. But carve out the time and your art will improve so quickly you will be blown away. Albert Einstein once said, an imagination is more powerful than knowledge. An imagination is more powerful than knowledge. Think about that for a second. So when you guys leave here today, I want you to go out there and I want you to start exercising your imaginations. You're going to be really surprised how far it takes you. Because I know I've been really surprised how far my imagination has taken me.
How many covers you do? Like 100 covers?
Yeah.
He always got it right. Always got the cover right, except for one. One cover. This book called Say Cheese and Die. Which was a book about an evil camera that kids discover. It takes bad pictures of things that happen in the future. And Jim's cover painting came in, and it was a family of skeletons barbecuing. All the time. It had nothing to do with the book. So of course they call me, right? They don't call Tim. They call me and say, Bob, you have to add a scene of skeletons barbecuing so the cover will make sense. And so I did. I added a dream sequence, and the kid dreams about skeletons barbecuing. This was the only time he missed out of 100 covers. It was amazing.
It's funny, I've heard you tell this story a few times over the years, and you say that I got it wrong, but they made you change the story.
It was this fun piece that they did with Jack Black and Slappy had a rap in the middle, or a dance break or something in the middle of that, and that was so absurdly funny. But that gets mentioned a lot when people, I saw this thing.
Sadly, not on Spotify.
It's not on Spotify. I don't get residuals for that one, unfortunately.
Played that at the beginning of the movie, like.
Yes, I want some fan to edit it into a cut of the fan cut of the first movie. Of it goes into that credit sequence of the great Jacobus art, and then it just cuts to black, and then while everything else rolls, you get that stupid song.
It's so like amazingly 90s. It's just in the way that it's like, in the way that the music is composed, just kind of like the fact that it's a rap at all. Because like you said, it was like very, very popular in the 90s for any movie to have credits. Like, I definitely think it also happened with like Shrek. It was like the dance party ending just became way, way, way more popular. But it's like, it's the most 90s thing possible, for better or for worse, that music video. But I just remember that was like the funniest thing to watch in preparation.
And that was one of the fun moments where Jack was exceptionally kind to me when he didn't have to be, because we were both there, and he, the director or whoever came up and said, which one of you is doing Slappy for this? Because it went back and forth on who was going to be Slappy at that point. And he went, that guy. And I got to go in and do the couple of Slappy lines for that. So it's one of the times he was very kind. He didn't have to be. That's one of those moments where he didn't have to be that nice to this 20-something guy who, I don't even know why I was there. I still don't know why I was there.
I used to play it at work all the time. If I was going to do shit.
I heard it in the mall once. That was really weird. I was to hear your own voice.
Didn't you make a video of that, Bjorn? I'm pretty sure you did a version of the dance version.
Oh, I don't know about this.
It's
somewhere.
Oh, the internet is forever.
My YouTube channel, somewhere very deep. If you go
See, if I knew this was getting brought up, I would have like had these projectors ready to play it, cueing it right now.
You had that
cue it right now.
Yeah, but that was like the excitement. Like the movie was coming out, so anything like that music video, or like us as collectors too, finding any of the new merch. It was just so exciting. It was a great time to be a Goosebumps.
That was filmed at YouTube Space in LA. Same day we filmed a piece with Vsauce that was it was like a feature film. They took it so seriously, and all of these stories about how your body reacts to terror and fear. It was really, really interesting pieces. And then also Jack filmed like making cupcakes or something the same day. But that was one of those like pinch me moments. It was just me and Jack Black were the two celebrity talents at YouTube Space that day.
There was I remember specifically one interview where you were actually with NPH, Neil Patrick Harris.
Oh, that was
amazing.
That was a wild day too. We did what was the show called? Best Time Ever with Neil Patrick Harris in New York City. Very, very briefly, live TV. I think the week before the movie came out, and it was live TV, and it was filmed on the lots, the Kaufman Astoria studio lot, which is where Sesame Street is filmed in New York, and I was in Carol Spinney, who plays Big Bird, or played Big Bird at the time's dressing room, and next door to me was the B-52s, and again, I was like, why am I here? And then we did a bit with Neil Patrick Harris. Slappy pops up and Jack Black faints, and then Neil Patrick Harris faints, and then Slappy faints.
Me!
Yes. That was again very wild.
That was it's like a little music sting that plays when they faint. It's like doo doo.
Live TV also. Then they make sure you know it is live.
Best thing I think I heard. Oh, my mic
ain't working. There you go. Best thing I think I heard of that whole thing is you can tell me how to get to Sesame Street.
No, I can't tell you how to get to Sesame Street, unfortunately. They blindfold you.
Why can nobody ever answer that question?
I've been there, but they blindfold you when they throw you in a truck to take you there. So no one knows how to get there.
They knock you out, they gas you, and then you wake up in the back of a van.
And just Big Bird and Snuffy staring at you. Welcome to Sesame Street. Slappy, got any cookies?
So, when it came to the design of Slappy, can you tell us a little bit about like how that design, because it was going through constant evolutions in the beginning of the production.
Yes, by the time I was involved, it was already decided. So I wasn't involved in any of that. I've seen a lot of concept art since then of some very strange versions of Slappy. The goth teen Slappy that
emo Slappy.
Yes,
yeah.
emo Slappy. They made it to like practical like renderings though. There are 3D out. It exists somewhere in the world. They made like prototypes and they painted them and things. But by the time I got there, they decided that Slappy needed to look like Jack because of the R.L. Stine duality of the relationship with Slappy. And that's why Slappy can do the what I call the windshield wiper eyebrows. He can do individually move those eyebrows. A trick, I don't think we ever even really used it in any of the movies, but it might have shown up in one of those junkets. But Slappy's eyebrows can do individual move because Jack does Jack's thing.
Now, besides today, did you get to meet R.L. Stine on the set of the movie?
So, yes, one of the days, though, if when you work on a movie, one of the adages of working on film is hurry up and wait. So you get there, and you get ready, and you sit, and they make sure all the important people do their work first, and then they wait until the very end of the night to start work on the puppet, because you're not going anywhere and you're not costing them any extra money. So I would get there and I would sit days and I wouldn't do things. And one of these days where I was sitting and doing nothing, we were at the high school on the first film, and it was one of those do nothing kind of days. And someone came to me and said, Avery, since you're doing nothing, you should go and film with Bob. And I had no idea who Bob was. Turns out Bob is Robert, who is RL, who is R.L. Stine. So I walk in and I am this close to him out of nowhere. And he just goes, hi, Bob Stine. And he looks at me and goes, are you a puppeteer? And I'm holding Slappy in my arms. So clearly, no, I just found this thing outside. And so he,
in my hand.
Yeah, it's stuck. I thought you would know how to get it off. And he told me about a show he wrote for Nickelodeon called Eureka's Castle. He talked about that in some of the Henson puppeteers he knew. And then we shot a piece for San Diego Comic-Con that a brief moment of it ended up in one of the bonus features on the first movie. But that was my introduction to Mr. Stine, and the only time that I interacted with him until today, when we were upstairs for our photo shoots. So we've met, and he's been very courteous and kind to me, and pretended he'd remembered me like a true gentleman.
Yeah, well, let me tell you. So last night we were eating dinner, and Avery joined us, right? So we were sitting there, and then, you know, Tim comes down, Tim Jacobus, and we start talking to him. I was like, man, I thought you were already gone. Weren't you going to go have dinner with Stine? And he's like, oh, we're just going to, you know, eat here. We'll wait around for him to get here. So Stine comes over, and then we talk with him for a little bit, and they go sit down and do their dinner. Well, we're still adjacent to them. And I told Avery, I was like, you need to sneak over there, and you need to, like, do Slappy, and, like, you know, just interrupt the conversation. I'll record the whole entire thing. It'll be amazing.
I'm not doing that.
He looked at me with just, just so much.
If time travel is ever invented, I'm not willing to risk my job 10 years ago for some giggles today.
It would have been a great video. I'm just saying, it would have been hilarious.
You brought up Comic-Con, because that was like the first really big look at the Goosebumps movie, and you got to be there. How was it like being up on stage, especially with all those, you know, the character actors as the monsters?
That was such a whirlwind. That was 2 days after we wrapped on the movie. So we filmed in Atlanta, and it was, I want to say, the end of July, and we wrapped on a Friday. On Saturday we flew to San Diego, and then on Sunday was the panel. So I didn't have time to be nervous and to process, really. I knew it was very cool that we were going to San Diego Comic-Con, but I didn't know exactly how big a deal it was, because I didn't know the Goosebumps world. And, you know, we're in our own little bubble, and so I'm not seeing the online anything happening about the Goosebumps. You guys didn't have a podcast yet, so I didn't know how excited you would be. So the excitement to me wasn't really there until Jack pulls Slappy out from underneath the table, and the entire room goes, and you could hear, like, you could feel this wave of people and their excitement, and they showed a bit of a very early trailer, which you found on the deep recesses of the internet sometime, which I hadn't seen until or since that time. It was wild watching all of the comments come in live when I got back to my room, and there's like 10 videos of it already up, and Slappy's face was on the cover of USA Today that morning, and it was just that it all happened right then. The big, how big it was, because I wasn't plugged into the community yet, so that was cool. And then I got to walk the San Diego Comic-Con floor with Jack. That was really cool. And I ended up on TMZ in the background of, we had a dinner, Jack and I and the director, Rob Letterman. And afterwards, there were people with cameras outside, and I was just coming out of the restaurant and going into the next building in my hotel. But for a brief moment, I am on TMZ going into the back. And not for anything scandalous or anything. My mother is so proud of me.
Wasn't Jack Black wearing like a stormtrooper?
Yes, he kept getting recognized. So he stopped and bought some ridiculously expensive stormtrooper helmet and wore that, and he was fine.
Did people eventually pick up on the fact that it was him, or like?
While we were in the restaurant, I think people were tweeting and things, because you could see it sitting next to him in the window or whatever, but yeah, that was and I think he did press the whole next day. He was like, I had to buy this so I could just walk around. But I don't do a good Jack, sorry.
Yeah, those hundreds of comments that were pouring in though, they were probably all me. I was about to say the same thing. I was going crazy when that Comic-Con
hundreds of fans
YouTube.
was actually one fan.
Yeah, I made 100,000 accounts and just kept posting. Yeah, no, like that initial video that went up, like I remember like being so emotional over it, because I was like, this is real, it's happening, because you never know, like with film, like what could happen. And I remember seeing that, and then I saw all like the banners, like people were taking photos of, and even in that window, they had like Slappy's
Yes,
face.
the outside of my hotel had Slappy's face all over it. That was wild.
It was wild time, like
Yeah, to be a Goosebump. I mean, it's
If you're going for inconspicuous, I think you failed that challenge there.
But you know what else they were pushing that same time? Sony had, the panel was for Goosebumps and for Pixels. And you know what we're not at a convention for right now? Pixels, starring Adam Sandler.
But imagine we were in some sort of alternate universe where this was like just a big Pixels read.
And now, Kevin James, ladies and gentlemen.
He does that like thing where...
Does anybody know Pixels? Do you remember seeing it? Did anybody see it?
Yeah, I saw it at the movies. I'm a Sandler fan, so I went and saw like every movie.
They had an arcade at San Diego Comic-Con set up, and it was really cool. There was like retro games and claw machines and all sorts of stuff to celebrate this movie. It was way more than Goosebumps. They had way more representation, but
That's ridiculous.
It was in retrospect.
Yeah, should have been the other way around.
Goosebumps has had the lasting legs.
So-
It always will.
Speaking of which, how was the premiere?
The premiere is something too that it's if you watch any of my videos, which some of you guys are talking about watching my videos, it's the missing piece in my Goosebumps videos. I was so nervous I could not hold a camera still. It was so exciting. Slappy kind of emceed the whole thing. Anybody would get out of the car and walk down and he would introduce. But first it was a bunch of monsters. So it was the clown and is it Crombie? Is that Crombie and the Pumpkinhead? All the creatures. Pretty much the same crew that went to Comic-Con came back for that. The Executioner. Haunted Mask, and then it was the stars, and gosh, there were celebrities there, and Tony Hawk was one of the celebrities. Jaden Smith was there. And as a puppeteer, you miss out on a lot of the really cool stuff because those people can be as near to you as you are. But being in a box and having to watch it on a TV it's a little less exciting. Slappy hosted the whole thing, and if you look, because I'm a nerd for these kinds of things, like the movies that had their premiere at this place were all the movies that I loved as a kid, and it's like the Stuart Little movie is one of my favorites from when I was a kid, and that was there's photos of like Michael J. Fox in the same like red carpet space, and I'm like, this is the coolest I will ever be. But yeah, that was a really cool thing. They had all they had Goosebumps snacks, and they set up the haunted house that you had to walk through to get into the theater, and I signed my first Slappy autographs there that day, and they immediately showed up on eBay for like $1 or something. Just popped that balloon immediately. Oh gosh, I'm trying to remember if there was anything else. That was a long day. I was directly in the sun. I remember that. And then one of my favorite stories is there was a kid that was there, and he and his family, we've kept in touch since then. But he and his family got to go into the theater early to get popcorn and those kinds of things at the premiere. And the only other people in the theater was Tony Hawk and his family. And so this kid walks in and sees Tony Hawk and goes, "Hey, Tony Hawk! Who's your favorite in Goosebumps?" And he goes, "I don't know, man. Who's yours?" And he goes, "Slappy!" He goes, "Mine too, man." So I don't know if Tony Hawk likes me or not.
Got called out by a puppet. What would you say was probably like the most difficult or challenging part of doing Slappy on either movie?
Oh gosh, the most difficult thing. Anytime we were in the car was really hard. Primarily because as a puppeteer, you use a monitor to see what the camera sees to make sure everything looks good, and you're kind of directing your own self there, so you can self-correct and whatnot. So when the car would move or the camera would move, the monitor would go out every time, no matter how much they fixed it or got a new monitor or whatever. That was always the problem, was being able to see what was going on in the car was always a problem. And the first shot I did in the movie is Slappy has all of the books piled up in the haunted car, and he says, "This one's a real page turner," and then he peels out of there. Or he throws a book out and then he peels out. And we did like 30, 40 takes of that one because I was laying across the seat with the Slappy puppet on my chest. I've got black blankets all over me because it's nighttime and I'm reflecting in every piece of glass that is in this car. And I'm watching a monitor in the floorboard, and there's people pushing the car in the back. And when the monitor's not working, and I can't turn Slappy's head and his eyes at the same rotation. And they're doing it over and over and over, and it's my first night. I've been there for a week and haven't shot anything yet, and it's my first night actually doing something. And I've done 32, 33, 34, and I can't get his eyes. And eventually I hear somebody say, "Can we just do it with CG?" And I went, "Give me one more!" And I'm essentially, what I'm doing is taking Slappy's head and I'm flinging it and catching it. And I get it once and they go, "That's pretty good." And I climbed out and now the sun is up and it's like daytime. And I got like a light applause and they're like, "Welcome to show business, Avery." And that was my most difficult day. Was my first day. Very fortunately for me, it was my first day, and it got easier from there.
I will say one more thing before we turn it to some audience questions. And I mentioned this last night, but one of my favorite things that you did with Slappy was not even in the movie. It was one of your vlogs where you're just in the back of a car and you're driving, and you're just like, Slappy in the Slappy voice is like, "Can we go to
Chuck E. Cheese?"
"Want
to go to Chuck E. Cheese?"
And they're like, "Wee!" It's the funniest thing ever.
There's probably some very funny stuff on the Sony publicity team cell phones that never got put out there.
Yeah.
Because they drove me around, like we went into one of the parking structures on the lot, and they drove up to the top. Where the natural light was, and they just drove around, and he's just talking about all of the things I couldn't see anything, but he's talking about all of the sights he could see in Los Angeles, because there were these huge billboards that was just Slappy in Los Angeles, so that was something they were trying to push. But they never pushed that anywhere. And so there's probably a hard drive somewhere with some treasure on it on the Sony.
We gotta go to Sony and find it.
Send Nicolas Cage to steal the.
Yeah. Well, I guess we might as well let you guys here in the audience ask a few questions. Since there's not a lot of you, you could just shout them out. So raise your hand if you got a question.
Do you know if the first movie had like a working title?
So I know it took a long time to get made, so I'm sure there were other iterations. That's not something I know. Do you guys know anything about development on number one?
There's quite a few scripts. One actually ended up on Google, and I did a video about it, and it was completely different to the finished product. Like, you had monsters in there that weren't even in finished product.
I know there was one version that was similar that Slappy was riding around on Cuddles.
Yeah, he's riding around on Cuddles. The execution is like ringing the big like town bell, and then they all like meet. And there's one part in particular, you'll like this. I don't know if you remember it from the draft, but one of the body squeezers goes up and tries to like intimidate Slappy. Like, "Why are you in charge? Like, why do I have to take orders from a dummy?" And Slappy basically says like, "Oh, okay," and he like shakes his hand. The body squeezer blows up, And he just says, okay, no more questions. Like, we can go. So basically, like, I am the top dog. Don't mess with me. So that was in the script.
And there was an alternate opening, too, that had Slappy in the back of a moving truck.
Yes. And we filmed that. There's actually, I don't know if you guys know this. There, we filmed, we had, the alternate opening was filmed in one day, and we had to film it twice, because the first night we were filming it, one of our camera cranes collapsed on our assistant director. And it messed up his shoulder. And they were like, Georgia's cursed. We should never film in Georgia. And so we ate dinner in silence, and they sent us all home. And the two guys that were playing the movers had flown in for like 2 days just to do this, and they had to send them back and rework the entire schedule to bring these two guys back. And one of those guys is crazy famous now, Kumail Nanjiani, who is in everything.
I know he was in Ghostbusters.
He's one of the Eternals, yeah. So
he was in Ghostbusters.
he was so confused about what I do.
Wasn't he in the Star Wars show?
Yes, he was just on Obi-Wan.
It was the Obi-Wan show.
Was he also SNL?
Playing the fake Jedi.
No, he wasn't SNL?
He was so confused. He was like, so you just do puppets? And I was like, yeah, I worked on Sesame Street, but you just do this. And I was like, yeah. Like, for your full job? Yeah. Are you trained? I guess.
He was like really interesting.
I think he was worried about me.
How are you going to eat tomorrow?
So we've gone to where you guys filmed in Georgia and saw quite a few of the places, well, that we could find anyway. So, like, when you said that your first day was in the car, like, so were you actually in the driveway to Stine's house filming that? Because when you go there, the houses are quite close together versus kind of the way it looks. And the movie, it almost has like a whole nother.
Right. So yeah, the movie is very tricky with things like that. So did you guys happen to find the high school? Did you go there?
Yeah.
So the school is on the wrong side of the football field, in real life. So they like the school, they like the football field, but the school was in the wrong place. So it's one of the photos I have at my table if you want to come see it. They covered the entire one side of the football field in greens, and they composited the school over there. And there's a bunch of things like that. R.L. Stine's house inside.
Did you guys film inside that house or in a
Only downstairs. So when the police come to the house, that's downstairs. And when we go upstairs and we're in the study with Slappy and all the books and the Abominable Snowman, that's on a soundstage 50 miles away somewhere. And the same with, the study is, 10 feet away in that soundstage from the House of Mirrors, because they built that in a black box inside so they can control lights and things like that. So it's amazing way they cut those things together. Yes, we were outside. The only stuff with the car we filmed indoors is if you're in the car with Slappy and you see all those, I can't reach the brakes lines, and he watches the bus go by that way. That's all the stuff that was filmed on a green screen. But everything else, we were out in the world, and they actually flipped the bus, and they did all of those things, and as practically as they could with the car. I was never in the car when it didn't maybe roll 3 feet, but it was always somebody pushing it. Or the one time there was some guy in all blacks in the passenger seat, slightly pressing the gas and steering while I was driving. But that was about 3 feet. That was in front of the house that evening we were talking about. Yeah. But yes, we did we were out in front of the street for a long time, and they set a lot of books on fire in the street in front of those houses.
I thought you were back in Nazi Germany and you burning all their books.
Oh my god.
It's terrible. It's terrible.
So, when the Disney Plus Goosebumps show hadn't came out yet and they were still doing promotional for it, they used your laugh in one of the teasers. Did they use it just because they had it laying around, or were they trying to get you?
I only know because of this guy.
I made a video on that because I was like, is that Avery's laugh?
He made a video on it, and everybody started sending me, "Congratulations, you're gonna be on Disney?" And I was like, "I'm gonna be on Disney?" And so there was some rumblings that it was gonna, because Rob Letterman was involved in the series, so they were like, is it a continuation of the Jack Black Stine stories? What is it? And I don't know what you guys knew about the story at that point when you'd seen Slappy at that point when the laugh was on there. So yeah, I was never in the mix at all on that. It was also all Canadian talent for the most part, so that was it would be more expensive to add me into the mix with that. So, and I knew that, so I wasn't terribly surprised that I wasn't that version of Slappy. But I reached out to SAG-AFTRA people and was like, can they do that? And they were like, it's a lot of paperwork. It's probably best to just let it go. And that's really where that one ended.
It was so weird we put in like one trailer, and then because Chris Gear, who does the voice of Slappy in the Disney Plus show, I don't think he ever laughs at all. He plays it pretty straight.
I think he laughs once, but I don't know if it plays in the actual show. But when they released all the titles, they updated it, and it was a creepy British laugh. So
that was British Slappy for that one.
Just imagine that change like.
Oh my god!
Listen to that in the trailer.
That'd be weird.
Got every version of Slappy now, so there you go.
Any other questions from the audience? No? Okay. I actually
wanted to show. You get a question. You get a question. Let's go.
You get a question. Yeah. I wanted to bring up something, but I think it's starting to leave my head. I did want to bring up that. Oh, I remember. So, and I was telling you this story yesterday.
Squirrel.
So these guys tease me all the time. Give me a wink.
Just lock in.
So no, my story was, and I talked to you about this yesterday, is that I actually got to tour the Sony studios in February 2018, and when you go there to do the tour, they have props from all these different shows and movies that Sony's done, and they do have Goosebumps props there, particularly from the first movie the last time I was there. And they had a manuscript for Abominable Snowman, and they had a gnome. And I was like super like, whoa, that's so cool. And I think one of the workers noticed because they walked over and they said, oh, you like Goosebumps, right? I'm like, yeah, I love Goosebumps. They're like, well, actually, Slappy usually sits in that director's chair there, but they're using him for the filming of the second movie, and we didn't know that it was actually happening yet. So that was like the first time I knew, and then 2 months later, the first teaser comes out. So I can only imagine that you probably had him in your hands at the time.
Yes, so I found out and went in for my first meeting, I believe in early February. So I'm not sure how the timelines line up there, but I was in Atlanta, living in Atlanta by the end of February, ready to go on that one. So they had him there on my first meeting. So and then we moved really fast on that one. Yeah, I found out that I was in it. Gosh, I got a phone call one morning. I missed it, and it was just the assistant director, producer Tim Bourne, and he said, "Hi, Avery, this is Tim Bourne. I wanted to talk to you about a little something called Goosebumps. Give me a call back." And I'm half asleep, and I check my voicemail, and I'm running laps in the house going, what does this mean? And so I call him back and get his voicemail, and his voicemail is, it was Dolly Parton had recorded his voicemail for him, because he's worked on every movie you've ever heard of in the last, 30 years. Tim worked on it. So I called him back, and he was like, so you're a puppet guy. I worked on The Muppets Take Manhattan, and I worked on all of these movies with Jim Henson and Frank Oz. He was telling me all these stories, and I'm like, great, Goosebumps though?
Get to the point.
And he's like, oh yeah, we're doing it. And they said you're the Slappy guy, so wherever Slappy goes, you go, right? And why don't you come in on February, whatever, and we'll talk about it. So that was how I found out, and I went in and signed an NDA, and they handed me a script, and I read while they had this 6-hour-long meeting about very specific things like curtains and what houses we're using and those kinds of things. So I was privy to a lot of information immediately. And so I don't know what it looked like from the outside because I was in the bubble right away.
You got to do the UNICEF ad too, though.
Oh, the UNICEF was right in the middle, yeah.
I remember seeing that, and I remember thinking, what does this mean?
Yeah.
Because that was a few years after the movie, so I thought, okay, they're still using Slappy for promotions, so.
That whole thing was fun because it was supposed to be just voiceover over the footage that we'd filmed for. We watched it on the show, I think. The Slappy reacts to the trailer video.
Yes.
It was supposed to just be voiceover because you can't see his face the whole time. They were gonna try to line it up, but they couldn't find the raw stuff. And so they were like, it's probably just easier to ship him to you. And so we worked it out with the TV studio near me, and they shipped him to my house, which is wild. And we did that in a day and a half. And yeah, he was everywhere for a hot minute. I never got my little orange box though from those.
Yeah, I remember after talking with Avery one of the times, I think it might have been the first time we talked to you, but I was like, did you get to keep Slappy? I was like, can we see that? He's like, what? He's like, they're not gonna let me keep that. I was like, well, it only costs probably a couple grand to make, right? Nah.
How much?
$50,000
to make one Slappy.
One Slappy, and they had multiple on Goosebumps too. Didn't
Yeah,
they?
that was just the ventriloquist Slappy from the first movie. Was that we had a army on the second one. I've never found out how much those guys cost with the animatronics and things, but there's no reason it should have cost that much money. I don't know why.
It was almost a Slappy animatronic.
Yes, there was. Somebody found that recently. I don't remember. Was it you? Did you find it?
I forgot who found it. It wasn't me. I did post about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I remember somebody found it and it was circulating over on Instagram. There's supposed to be a Spirit Halloween Slappy animatronic and it got scrapped. Somebody just happened to find a picture of the prototype.
So that was the year of the second movie. So there was a week we were off of the filming the movie, and I did press stuff for when the movie came out during that. So I went in and did a day and did all of these international the Amo es Slappy kind of videos for international things. And one of them was the voiceover for the Spirit Halloween thing, and then we did an ad for social media for Spirit Halloween releasing this piece, and then there was write-ups of the eyes light up and the head spins around and things. I've got it somewhere. I'll have to find it. I've kept every piece of paper that I ever got in recording all of these things. So I've got boxes and boxes of things that I'm hoping to go through soon on my podcast. Can I talk about that on?
Yes.
So I'm hoping the first episode I'm going to put out on the anniversary of the first movie on the 16th of October, and it's called Slappy Speaks. And that will be we're going to walk through my experience with some of the people that I don't think are got enough credit for contributions to the movie. So all of the creature performers who spent hot nights and never got to work, that hurry up and wait rule. So in the credits of the first movie, it's just a list of creature performers, and they don't have who they are. So I'm hoping to talk to all those guys and put a name with everything. This is the Haunted Mask, and this is the Body Squeezers, and these are the, so. And then I've got some making of Slappy photos from Tim Selberg before he was put together, and all the mechanics and things in his head that he's never put out anywhere, and some exciting things like that. So that's coming out as I'm trying to work around everything else that's going on in October, and I am very excited about that. So
And where can that be found? YouTube?
that will be on my YouTube, Inside My Brain Comedy.
And yeah, you can follow them over on Instagram, get some updates on the podcast and when it's coming out. And there might be a Goosebumps Crew crossover in the
Yes, I would love to have a Goosebumps Crew crossover.
Well,
that's one thing I will tell you. Like, if you don't follow him, you really should. It's funny to watch. Like, him and his wife are hilarious.
And shocking enough, Avery does other things besides just Goosebumps.
Occasionally.
But yeah, give him a follow over on Instagram if you don't already. But we have another person who's going to join us for the last stretch of our panel here. He looks a little different, but we felt he needed to make an appearance.
Person is such a loose term.
Well, his other body got destroyed. His soul went somewhere, right?
Yeah, something like that.
That's what I was told anyway. I shrunk the.
Well, let me tell you. Let me tell you. Actually, that's a very funny thing. There was an alternate ending to Goosebumps 2 that you guys don't know about, and that would actually be a very funny thing. So Slappy gets destroyed, right? He gets electrocuted and rockets off into the thing, and now it's Christmas time. And Mr. Chu's decorated all the yard next door, right? The original scripted ending of the movie is Sarah gets accepted into college and everybody's happy, and it's a wonderful, picturesque Christmas ending of a movie. You got one of those happy songs, and the camera pans over to the mantle, and there's a nutcracker, and the nutcracker turns his head and looks at the camera and goes, "Congratulations!" And that's the end of the movie. So, if we want to talk about number 3, Slappy is now a nutcracker in some universe. But yes, this is my. We're still working on a name. Somebody had Squeaky. We've had a couple of suggestions today. Somebody called him Small Slappy, SMOL Slappy.
Slappy. I thought they're going the route of, "You're killing me, Smalls."
Stine Slappy.
Well, I tried to think earlier. I was like, what's smaller than a slap to somebody? So a tap, but tappy.
Tappy.
Oh boy.
Well,
sorry. Yes.
Yep, it's good to have you here.
I can talk without moving my lips now.
Yep.
The ventriloquist is the dummy is a ventriloquist. No, keep going.
Well, Slappy, it's great to have you here.
It's great to be anywhere.
Yeah, how are you enjoying the weekend so far?
It is great to be in Texas, where everything is bigger except for me.
And you got to meet a lot of fans.
Oh yes, I've met a lot of fans, taken a lot of Slappy selfies, and they all love me. And where were they for Goosebumps too, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, excited. But what would you say has been some of the coolest things that you've gotten to see this weekend so far?
There was a guy wearing a t-shirt of me. There was a guy wearing a hat of me. There was a girl wearing a t-shirt of me. There was a guy with a bag of me. And there's 2 knees watching me right now.
Yeah, they have hair. They have like all that hair. What do you think of that?
That's weird.
Stine said it was real,
yeah.
So it's canon.
Yep, it's canon. So what have you been up to since Goosebumps?
Well, I've been working a lot in community theater. You know, I've played many parts since then. I help prop up the stage and things. I'm lumber now, essentially.
So they use you for like, evening out a chair that kind of wobbles.
Yes, yes. They say it's a stagehand work, but I know it's not.
Well, at least it's good paid work, right?
People get paid for that?
Yes, they do.
Oh.
You should be getting paid the most for that.
Yeah. You should have had it in your contract.
People have a contract for that?
I would love to know what Slappy's contract would be like. What would be some of like the requirements? Like,
Oh, what's on my rider? Let's see. Gosh, what would that be? Gosh.
what would he have for lunch?
What would I have for lunch?
What would Slappy have to have for lunch?
Well, I'm not very hungry. I'm already stuffed.
Okay.
I'm working on my comedy special coming soon to Netflix.
I gotta ask you, in the recent years, there's been a new Slappy that's been
Yes.
what do you think about that?
Yes, he's very British.
Yep.
I'll say that for him. There's something, I don't trust him. There's something crazy about his eyes. He's got those human eyes. Don't trust anyone with human eyes. You know what I'm
You got him
saying?
somewhere?
What's that?
You think you got him somewhere?
I don't know. I look. He sent me a Facebook friend request, and I'm just trying to ignore it. And I know he's gonna listen to this, and I really don't. Make him ask me another question.
Yep.
What about where's Mary Ellen? I wanted to know.
I wanted to know where Mary Ellen is. Look. Of all the love stories that have ever been told, there is nothing like Slappy and Mary Ellen, right?
No.
And let's put it on film again. Let's think of the most beautiful romantic films you've ever seen. Bella and Edward, Lady and the Tramp. Let's add Slappy and Mary Ellen to the list. Let's give me a leading lady. That's what I've been saying.
Exactly. Well, that could be the next Goosebumps movie. Slappy.
Give us a series. I don't care.
Romantic comedy. Slappy.
Yes.
I think we would all watch that.
Love slapshually. Love slapshually. I'm trying. I'm a little rusty. I've been in a box for a while.
Yep.
Just do the I Love Lucy thing, just change it I Love Slappy.
I Love Slappy.
Yes.
That could be a new TV show. So, have you been working on workshopping any scripts for other movies?
Oh, I've got so many scripts going, man. I've got scripts for not just Goosebumps movies. I think that my chiseled physique is I should be the new Marvel guy. They've got Robert Downey Jr. as a bad guy, so let's flip my type also, and I'll be a good guy. I could play like Iron Man, or look, I could be the new Groot, if we're being honest.
I was going to say maybe the new Ant-Man.
Ant-Man? Is that a joke about my size?
Oh,
Is that a joke about my size?
I love you, Slappy. No. I love
and Slappy.
Okay, all actors do change their body type and
Yes,
stuff for roles.
yes.
You are looking a little slimmer. We were just curious.
Yeah.
But
But
we're not
hey,
judging here.
They do the next big chair thing. Where's Slappy's chair?
Yes.
Right next to Robert Downey Jr.
Yes. De Niro, Robert Downey Jr., Slappy.
Yep.
Yes. It makes sense.
Yep.
Financially, for any studio, let's go Slappy next.
Yep.
Yes.
Very much so.
Number one on the call sheet, me.
I think it should
You heard it here first.
directed, produced, written,
By
starring
Slappy.
Yep. Everything.
If they're not going to do it, I will. One way or another.
1 million tickets. It'll become the highest grossing movie of that year.
Yes. Yes.
Any audience questions for Slappy while he's out here? No? Nobody wants to talk to you, Slappy.
Not even. What about these Slappies? Do they want to talk?
Oh, a Slappy question from Slappy. Very,
Yes.
very interesting.
Come on, Slappy.
We had a question in the back.
What
There
kind of
was a
hair
question
product
back
do you
there.
use?
Oh, right there. Oh.
Do you do some of your favorite lines?
Some of my favorite lines. So one of my favorite lines from the first movie is Slappy's driving. And this line's come up a lot today. Slappy's driving the haunted car, and it was an ad lib that I said, and they left it in the movie. Slappy's driving down the road, and he's driving like a maniac, and he says, "Sorry, folks, I'd slow down, but I can't reach the brakes." That's one of my favorites. And the second movie's got so many that I love. "I'm 28 inches tall. You have no idea how low I can go." Oh gosh, there's so many things with Walter in the second movie where he's talking to the Tesla statue at one point, and he's like, "Mr. Tesla, don't mind if we take over your factory, do you?" And Walter leans over and goes, "What did he say?" And Slappy just goes, "Shut up." We did a bunch of those. The other one was like, "Walter, the grown-ups are talking." We did a handful of those. And then the other one I ad-libbed in the second movie was, Sarah's boyfriend's way up on the ladder in the theater. He's hanging up decorations for the Halloween party, and Slappy goes, "I love the theater. I always bring down the house." And the ladder collapses, and he has to go to the hospital. And the drummer was talking, man. He's chasing the dragon.
Well, Slappy, I got one more question for you. You know, there's a lot of other Goosebumps guests here this weekend.
Yes.
Tim Jacobus and R.L. Stine.
I don't know who they are, but you sound very excited.
Yes, indeed. You don't recognize your papa?
Jack Black?
Oh, I guess it's not Jack Black.
The Kung Fu Panda guy?
Yeah. I will say that's one of my favorite quotes of that Comic-Con panel. I was like, "You're Jack Black. You're the Kung Fu Panda guy."
I made Jack Black laugh, and it's one of my, it's on camera. It's one of my big accomplishments in my life.
Not to break character, you can Any other plans for the weekend? You planning to go out anywhere and explore San Antonio?
Are you trying to ditch the guy whose hands attached to you? Like, are you gonna go out on your own, or is he constantly?
I don't know what you took. Oh, he's still there.
Yeah, he's still there.
I changed a lot, and he's still there.
Yeah.
That must mean something.
Yeah.
What do you think the common denominator there is? No, I don't know. I was gonna go out there and try on those giant cowboy boots that are on that corner down there.
You think they'll fit?
Maybe.
Yeah.
They could.
They could fit.
Unless you think I'm small.
Nope.
Are you saying it?
Nope.
That's good. I was gonna also try to track down some of those people on TikTok that make thirst traps of me. That's a fun thing to do.
Well, there's probably a few out there in the town, so you might be successful.
Excellent.
But Mr. Stine, you might be familiar with this one, how there was a Disney World attraction for Goosebumps way back when at Hollywood Studios.
Of course, it was the thrill of my life.
Yeah.
I had my own land.
Yeah, it was the Horrorland Fright Show. So basically what it was is that they had a whole magic show with Amazo the Magician, for anyone who knows the story Bad Hair Day, and all the Goosebumps monsters come out. So you got to go to this land and see a show and then go into a big house of mirrors. So what was it like just to have that experience at Disney World? Because I know you're a big Disney fan.
I'm the world's biggest Disney fan. So, seriously. I just got back. I took 4 kids to Disney World in June, and I came home with all 4. That's good, right?
Yeah. Awesome. Awesome.
I would have been happy with 3 out of 4. I love Disney, and it really was a thrill to have our own thing. It lasted 1 year, and I will tell you exactly why they took it down after a year. This is true. Not funny, but it's true. We didn't sell enough T-shirts. That's all they cared about was T-shirt sales.